Hello friends and welcome to my channel. I enjoy sharing with you how I make simple home decor on a budget. I craft with items from Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, wherever I can find the best deal. Today we are going to make some fun fall home decor and I'm going to show you how I do it all using some fabric. Let's get started. Starting off, I'm going to use this sign that I believe is from from Aldi, and it was on clearance, but you can get these types of signs at Hobby Lobby, Dollar General, anywhere, thrift stores, or just some old home decor that you just don't like anymore. We're going to start by just giving it a clean slate. I do find it easier to take the paper off rather than crafting over it, and I just like to spritz it with some water, lay a paper towel down, and just let it soak and scrape it. Sometimes you have to do it a couple times to get it all off. And here is how it looks. You also do want to give it a good sanding if you need to get anything else off. I will say there's a little bit of paper left. It is totally smooth here, but there is some paper in some places and you may have a little bit of crackling in your paint. Not that it chips off, it's just like it just looks a little crackled, but I like that look, so that doesn't bother me. But to avoid that, you want to sand it even more thoroughly. But since it's hot outside and I didn't want to go out with my big sander and I don't mind the look, I'm just gonna proceed by giving everything a good coat of white paint, probably more like 2 coats. And then we're going to make this sign a double-sided sign, and I'm going to use these stencils from Hobby Lobby. Really, really great deal. I like the stencils from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to use the color Celery by Waverly. I really enjoy using that color for my crafts, both all year round and in particularly fall, but I do think it blends in nice all year round. And I'm going to stencil on Celery, and I'm going to use this pumpkin stencil, and I'm just doing it section by section, holding it down with my fingers so that each of those little intricate, like thin pieces don't come up. And I'm going to use just a stencil brush, and I love how the pumpkin is not fully on the sign. It's just kind of partway on there. I thought it looked great. You could use a bigger sign if you wanted to, or a smaller stencil. Now I went over this a couple of times. I did go in with a little brownish gray color over the stem, and I love how this came out. You can see that it is not totally solid green in parts of the pumpkin. I like that look, but you could just go over it again if you don't like that look. And I'm just showing you the key with the stencils is clean it off right away. In the sink, wet paper towel, I used a baby wipe. Now we're going to go ahead and do the other side of the sign, and we are going to give this a good coat of Mod Podge. This is where our fabric is going to come into our DIYs. And so what I'm doing is the iron-on method for this one. So just give the piece a very good coat of Mod Podge, and then once it is fully dry, we are going to place our fabric on. And I'm just kind of looking to see where I want, what I want to be on the sign, what part of the fabric. This is from the Dollar Tree. I think all of the fabric I'm using today is from the Dollar Tree, but you can of course get it many different places. And I'm just doing a little section at a time to make sure it was where I wanted it. But we're going to just place our parchment paper on top of our fabric and then go over it with an iron. I am using my mini heat press, but you can also use a household iron with no steam. That will also work just fine. And then once that is on, I am just going to use a little cutting tool and that I picked up from the Dollar Tree and trim off all of the edges. If you feel it picking up at all, which sometimes does happen when I'm cutting it and fussing with it, once it's on. But kind of this immediate time, especially because it's probably still a little bit warm from the iron, I just go back over it with the iron to kind of seal that in. So I'm going to do that one more time, and then I'm going to give a good coat of Mod Podge on top of the fabric. Now you don't always need to do the Mod Podge on top of the fabric, but there was a few pieces left that I was wanting to trim off, and when you Mod Podge, everything becomes totally hard. That fabric is hard, and so this way I can go in lightly with my sandpaper and just sand off the edges of little pieces of fabric to clean that up a little bit more. And then I got these pieces from Hobby Lobby. It came in a 4-pack. 2 were orange, 2 were plain wood, and I'm going to hot glue that on there. Hobby Lobby is really a great affordable place for things like this. The original price is $1.99, which makes each word piece 50 cents, but right now it is at least 40% off. It might be even more, I'm not sure. So that is all I did for this piece. I love having 2-sided signs if you're going to put this on a tiered tray or your coffee table or something where you can see it from both sides, or it just allows you to change up your decor and have two different decor pieces, and it only takes up one piece worth of storage. Because, we all know that storing our home decor can be part of the struggle. But I love how this came out. Let me know what you think. For this one, we're going to use a sign that I got from Dollar General. You can see it's labeled $1, but I picked this up at the end of the Christmas season. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I probably paid like 20 cents for it, maybe even only 10 cents. I love Dollar General, Hobby Lobby clearance. Dollar General clearance is amazing, but I get some really, really good stuff at Hobby Lobby too. So I'm just scraping it, spraying it, letting the water soak in, cleaning it up, sanding it down, and then I just taped the little hanger on the back down to stay out of my way, and I'm going to give this a good coat of white paint. I think I gave it probably 2 coats. Once again, if you leave a little bit of paper on there, it is smooth, it is not bumpy at all, but you will probably get a little bit of crackling on your paint, but I don't mind. Something else I picked up on clearance, but this was from Hobby Lobby, and it was a garland that had wood, pumpkins and leaves. And I just took one of the pumpkins off, and we're going to Mod Podge this because this is the piece we're going to be adding some fabric to. So give it a good coat of Mod Podge and let it dry, and then we're going to go ahead and add on our fabric. This is also some fabric I picked up from from the Dollar Tree. And once again, get it placed where you want it, put down some parchment paper, and iron it with an iron with no steam. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Leanne, and I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs here on this channel. Just home decor, crafting is typically what I share, although I have shared a couple kind of one-off other type of DIY projects. If you're into that kind of thing, I would love it if you would subscribe before you leave. It doesn't cost you anything. It just makes sure that YouTube lets you know when I post a new video. Once I have my fabric attached, I'm just going to use my little sharp cutting tool to trim off the fabric. Actually, at first it wasn't that sharp. I changed it out for another blade, and then things went a little bit more smoothly after that. Now, apparently I wasn't filming this part, but I took this burlap ribbon, I think is what it was called, from the Dollar Tree, and just wrapped that around the stem of the pumpkin, using a little bit of hot glue here and there to hold it still as I went. So I'm just showing you that there because I missed that part when I was filming. And I just am going to use some hot glue and attach this to the center of our sign. I put most of the glue on the bottom and then on the top of the stem because I wrapped the stem. It was going to make it slightly angled, so I knew the whole piece wasn't going to have contact with the sign. And then I just went into my scraps, pulled out some greenery, and we're going to just embellish this piece a little bit. But I also want to embellish with these little, I think they're called pit berry. Dollar Tree labels them as berry garland. I trimmed them down and then just hot glued the ends where I trimmed it to keep it from unraveling. And then I have this, you could use moss. This is, I think, called I cannot remember what it's called. I'll try to remember to link it down below. I got it from burlap.com. And it's just kind of this it's almost mossy, but mine is in a natural color. So I'm going to put that down. Also a little bit of greenery and this burlap bow, which also did come from burlap.com, but you can of course make your own. And just little pieces of greenery. I'm just kind of trimming them down, tucking them in with a little bit of hot glue all over until I have, the desired look I wanted, just with a little bit of embellishment. I went with greenery that was a little bit brighter colored because this fabric had brighter colored greenery on it. And I like mixing and matching the textures of greenery and leaves and sprigs. I feel like the different textures kind of make it look a little bit more high-end, a little bit more store-bought if you care about that. I don't know. And then I'm also just tucking in little bits of that pit berry that I kind of just wound around like a pencil or something to make it a little curly and tuck that in different places. And then I realized I kind of wanted to Mod Podge the fabric, at least around the edges, because from the trimming it does kind of pull on it a little bit. So just to help seal it in. So I'm going in after the fact and just putting some Mod Podge on the fabric. Normally with other pieces you want to make sure everything has that because it does change the finish, but on the fabric not so much. Here is, I have it hung up. I love this little sign. It'd be cute on a door, on little hooks like I have it here, added to the center of a wreath would also be really pretty, however you want to style it. But I love how this piece came out. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm just using scraps and pieces I got on clearance, and that's how I like to do it. We're going to use more of that fabric, and this time I'm just needing to iron it first. It was quite wrinkly, and because I'm using my heat press that doesn't have any steam in it, I was like, this isn't working. So I just spritzed it with my water bottle and ironed it out. And this is because I'm not actually going to Mod Podge this one. If I was going to Mod Podge it, then you would need to iron it first, but I did need to smooth it out. We're going to pop it in a frame. I'm allowing the fabric to kind of hang out the back. If you want the back of your frame to not look like that, then just Mod Podge it onto like a piece of cardstock or cardboard and pop it in the frame. Totally up to you. I just kind of wanted to show you another way of doing it, but you will need to iron it then, because unless it's already not wrinkly. And I put the glass in and everything. So this is a frame that I had picked up at a thrift store for, I know it was marked $1, but I may have gotten it half off. I don't remember. And then one of these wooden leaves from the garland from Hobby Lobby that I got on clearance. And I'm going to stencil this using a stencil from the Dollar Tree. So here is my opinion about these stencils. These ones came in like a 6-pack from the Dollar Tree. Some of them are different sizes, so there might only be 3 in the pack. Now, they are kind of intricate, and they're sticking together here. It took me a bit to pull it apart and get it all where I needed it to go. You can reuse them. They are reusable. You just need to clean them off and put them back on the, well, it's kind of hard to put them back on the piece they came off of, but you could put them on like some wax paper maybe. Sometimes I reuse them, and sometimes I just say one and done is fine, and I still find it to be a good deal. I don't have a Cricut or a cutting machine. I started off really foolish here stenciling this. I should have put some painter's tape or something around the edge because I did go over it, but we'll clean that up in a second. Just be careful you don't have too much paint on your, stencil brush. This is also from the Dollar Tree. And I didn't clean my paintbrush out first, so mine had a little bit of other color in with the orange, but I loved how that looked. So that's what I did. The stencils, I still really, really like them. I love having words, and like I said, I don't have a cutting machine. And so this is a great way. They've got some really cute phrases and sayings, but sometimes they can be tricky to get on or to reuse afterwards because there's so many details. So that's just kind of my throwing that out there for the Dollar Tree. Decide if that's worth it to you or not. I cleaned up what I could of the paint, gently sanded around the edges where I did get paint onto the wood piece, and then I'm going to hot glue this onto the glass. This also makes it so that if you want to redo this piece at a later date, you can just gently, carefully heat up the glass. The hot glue will come off, and you could totally redo this for another purpose if you want. I got a little crazy with my hot glue, so it got onto the glass, so I'm just peeling that off. But that is it for this piece. Let me know what you think about it. I love how it came out. The background was a little bit busy, so I kept the leaf a little bit more simple. It does have words on it, but that really stands out. I feel like the words on the background kind of blend in a little bit. So I do love how this one came out. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, if you have any of these pieces and would recreate it. Next up, we have a pumpkin. I don't know if this was from the Dollar Tree or maybe it was from Hobby Lobby or Walmart after season. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to pull out our stem, and then I'm going to cut out a little piece at the top. I don't think this was from Dollar Tree. I feel like it's better material than the Dollar Tree, but I'm just cutting out a little hole. There's kind of like it's kind of like rubbery, and then styrofoam inside, but I'm just making a little bit of a hole, nothing too big, and we're just going to clean that out because we are going to wrap this pumpkin. Now, we're not going to use fabric, although fabric would work. I'm going to use ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I have this orange, basically like an orange burlap and then a regular burlap, and I had wired ribbon, and I don't need wired ribbon for this project. What I'm doing is cutting it to the length I need it, and then I am going to cut off the wired ribbon, and you can just fold this up however many, depending on the thickness of it, whatever makes it easy for you to do it, but folding it makes it go by a lot faster. And I'm just cutting off the wired piece, and then I'm going to cut the ribbon itself into half for thinner strips because my pumpkin is not a large pumpkin. And I did this for both the orange and burlap colored ribbon. You could use as many colors and patterns that you want, totally up to you. And we're gonna wrap this around from one side to the other. And I am using a bit of hot glue, mainly in the inside, a little bit on some places around the pumpkin. Not a lot, but just a little dab here and there. The pumpkin itself was a little bit slick, and I didn't want it to be moving around on me. So use some hot glue, but don't use too much, and use a finger protector or something else to help you attach it so that you don't burn yourself. And I'm just alternating. This isn't perfect. The strips are not perfectly even. It's supposed to be, I don't know if you want to use the word like rag, but definitely rustic. If you're enjoying this video, it would help me out so much if you would just give this video a thumbs up. It helps me out. It helps YouTube want to recommend my channel to others. A very simple way. Also, I know a lot of you guys watch on the TV, but if you're watching on another mobile device or your computer, or if you could hop on to another device, to leave me a comment down below. That also helps me out. It means a lot. I'd love to interact with you. Let me know which one is your favorite, or if you just simply don't know what to say, feel free to just leave me an emoji, maybe one of those leaf emojis to represent fall. I would appreciate that so much. I'm going to just keep alternating until we've gone all the way around our pumpkin and the pumpkin is completely covered. If your pumpkin that you are starting out with is a brighter color, I would recommend probably painting it white just so that you don't have that color peeking through. But I had a white one in my stash, so that is what I used. This is burlap ribbon, so it is going to be a little bit frayed. Trim off what you need to for loose strings, but also feel free to leave it a little bit raggedy. Once again, I went into my stash, pulled out some scraps of greenery and these little wooden sticks from the Dollar Tree. But you could also just use a stick from your yard or use the stem that was originally on there. Paint it if you want. Doesn't matter. Just do that however you want. You could also add a bow on this. I'm just going to add the greenery and the stem using some hot glue in there and just get that in there nice and tight. That will also hold the fabric in, but I did use, as you saw, a little bit of glue here and there to help hold that all together. And that is it. I love this one. You can see, in my opinion, this is like perfectly imperfect. It's not all symmetrical. It's not all exactly even, but it looks intentional. And I think intentional is kind of what is important to making it look nice. This is an oldie but goodie. This pumpkin sign came from the Dollar Tree. At some point I painted it. We're going to repaint it. But you can get all sorts of shaped signs from Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, and you can simply just make them over in whatever way you'd like to. So I'm going to use Celery by Waverly. That's a color I used in another DIY in this video. And we're going to paint around the border and just have a peek of that celery for this piece. So I'm going to do all of the edges and then we're going to Mod Podge. I am Mod Podging first I'm going to paint white because we are going to use some fabric and I wasn't sure if the orange that was already on there was going to be too bright. So I didn't do a couple of coats or anything to make sure you couldn't see anything through it, but I did want a brighter color. Painting it white usually helps when you're Mod Podging, depending on how thick your fabric is, but you don't want anything, you just want it to pop. So I painted it white and then I Mod Podged, but I did Mod Podge at the back as well. You're going to see how we're going to cover that. Now this fabric is a little bit busier, and so I just was moving it around trying to decide what portion of it I wanted to be on my pumpkin. And once I found the piece that I thought looked the best, which did take a little, maneuvering, I put some parchment paper down and ironed that on like before with a iron with no heat until that was all fully adhered. For the back of the pumpkin, I could have painted it. I could have also done fabric, but I just went in with this plain cardstock and ironed that on as well. I just wanted it to look nice. And honestly, the neutral color would look nice in your decor, in my opinion, as well. But it just looks more finished because what was on it didn't look great. And then I'm just trimming that off. You could also sand it, but this is a thicker cardstock and you can sand it, but I didn't want the rough edges that you get when you sand it. So sometimes I use a sanding method and sometimes I don't. And I'm just going to trim off the cardstock, and then I'm going to flip it over and trim off the fabric as well. Now, sometimes I don't get this perfect. I never get it perfect, but sometimes I scrape up the edge of the pumpkin a little bit. So if that happens, you may want to go in and touch it up with a little bit of paint. It's totally your call. I believe I do end up doing that with this one. I did decide to Mod Podge over the fabric. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't, but I guess I decided to in this video. So just gonna give that a good coat. That will make it really hard, and it will just kind of help any edges that maybe came up when you were trimming it. Just kind of seals it in. And I decided to do the back. I really don't think that was necessary, but I did it, so I showed it to you. I will say another reason for Mod Podging, especially like the fabric, is that it is easier to kind of wipe it down and dust it. Since this decor, decor does get dusty, or does dust only exist in my house? But it does make it a little bit easier to do that. Once the Mod Podge was dry, I did go in with my sandpaper, my little finger sander, and just trimmed off a little bit more of the, there's just a couple little strings that were hanging out. And so I did that, and then I did decide to go in with the celery paint and just kind of touch it up a little bit. Now we're going to embellish our little pumpkin. I have this, I think it's called raffia ribbon, and I'm going to cut a couple strips of that. We'll come back to it in a second. I'm using more of that stuff from burlap.com. I need Silsa. I can't remember how it's spelled, otherwise I could guess better on how to pronounce it. But you can also use some moss and just kind of put that around. I like to share with you what I'm doing, but also give you ideas of where you can get things if you don't have exactly what I have, or other things that you can use. I don't know. Let me know, what style videos do you like? Do you like just me showing it to you super quick, one and done in 30 seconds? Or do you like the details? I find it helpful for me personally, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't have that, or I don't have that store. So getting ideas of other, ways to do it is helpful in my opinion. But I do like to hear your opinion. So I added that little mossy type stuff, trimmed it down, not too much, you want it to be messy, but I did trim it down a little bit, made a little bow. I just used that raffia ribbon, and I just tied 3 strands together at the same time and did a simple shoestring bow, hot glued that down, trimmed off the edges, and then we're going to use this orange and burgundy wire, pitberry garland, or berry garland is what it's called, from Dollar Tree. And when you trim it down, just put a little dab of hot glue, because it will unravel. It is a wired piece, and the burgundy and orange was perfect for the colors of the fabric. And I just twisted that around a pencil to get my little curly cues, twisted it in the middle around the stem, and used a little bit of hot glue to help kind of secure that in place. And here is how this one came out. I love the different textures with the embellishments. I kept them kind of simple because the fabric was busy, but still added the different textures. It adds dimension. It makes it look a little bit nicer in my opinion. But I love how this came out. It's not a true double-sided sign, but you could have made it that way if you'd like. But this is how it came out. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Say hello down in the comments, and subscribe if you are new. Check out another video that I have linked here for you. I think you'll enjoy that one as well. And I appreciate you for watching. I will see you in the next one.